And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show, The Three Monkeys, the place where you can say, I didn't hear, didn't see, I have no clue what is happening around the world. If you're hoping for Bibi Netanyahu to go to prison or jail, well, let me give you some, I guess, bad news, but it's not what you think. We might have just started a war with Syria, and things are going to be a bit different in the days to come. About more than 24 hours ago, Israel Katz, the Minister of Defense, gave a very, very serious warning that leaked apparently, or maybe leaked outside of secret meetings, saying that there's something sinister starting in Syria and the Syrian regime might be involved in that in an attempt to build a terror base around the border with Israel for the future plans of invading the Golan Heights in October 7th style, basically fulfilling the plan that was supposed to happen by Hezbollah but never took place. And now Jama'a al-Islamiyya, which how could you say Jama'a without saying brotherhood? It's like a different word for brotherhood. So like the Islamic gang, the Islamic bro. So you have the Muslim brotherhood and now you have the Muslim bros. That's kind of, if you want to explain Jama'a al-Islamiyya, have been building a base. So here is a little bit of an interesting update of what has been going on in the last few days, and it's gonna be crazy, so buckle up. And then later on I will talk to you some military tactics and stuff that are involving the special forces and the Israeli operation in Syria, and also have a very special guest. Some of you might know her by Yara, a Druze medical student from Norway and Syria, living in Norway, but her family's from Syria, and she have some important, very, very concerning message to share with us. Well, I will give you a teaser. Apparently, the jihadists in Syria have just declared jihad to go and invade Israel. Last time they did that, more than 300,000 jihadists came to kill the Alawites or the Druze. So we'll get to that when we go. But let's stay with the operation right now that sparked the whole thing, history in the making. And maybe later on when things happen, you can go back and says, wow, he was right. It was in front of our eyes. It was said. Hopefully I'm wrong, but let's see. So it wasn't a special unit actually. A team of paratroopers with jeeps, Humvees, driving in the night. There's a special Humvee jeep maneuvering unit in the IDF that specialize in driving in speed. It's a special unit, and they very cool training. They train about driving, and they drive like maniacs at night in a convoy of 5, 6, 7 jeeps, one after the other. We're talking about centimeters from one another. No lights, no brakes, just driving as fast as possible. And they move like a canopy. They move like a one organic team. And they usually mobilize special units like Yamam, Shaddag, Seret, Matkal sometimes, although they have their own drivers. And I believe that they were the ones who took that unit of paratrooper reservists who went in an 8-minute raid. Now, let me read for you the article. It's a very fascinating article, and we're going to talk about it. So, tens of hostile Syrian armed militias closed on the IDF force and started opening fire. The unit commander and his deputy got injured, and their subordinates, their soldiers, were replacing them in the leadership, which is something very interesting about the IDF. Everybody almost in the unit is in some sort of a leader, but in general, that's a joke about the Jews and the Israelis. You can have 10 Israelis and you have 10 opinions and 10 ways to do something. So it's a nation with a lot of confident people. But anyway, what happened is, driving in the dark in the Humvees towards the direction, the raid took 8 minutes on the house of the suspects, and the shooting that started immediately after they said the code word Johnny is in our hands, which is like the suspect is Johnny. We got Johnny. And it was 2 brothers, by the way, they arrested. And as they were coming out, intense fire was open at them from all directions. Apparently, I think something like 4 people got injured. And in that process, the commander and his deputy tried to go and rescue them, got injured as well. Exchanging fire, shooting back and forth. They called for a backup. IDF was ready for a scenario like that, so it had already helicopters and drones in the sky, and it also had tanks ready, and they went and started to do the rescue operation. Now, this is the recon unit of the reservists of the paratroopers in Israel, Unit 55, and they went into the Sunni Muslim town in Syria called Beit Jan, not the Druze Beit Jan in Israel. People mix that. It's a Sunni Beit Jan that is about 11 kilometers from the border with Israel, until the head of that terrorist group was taken out of his bed in the middle of the night, handcuffed. We have some images. You'll be able to see that. They had some investigators from the Unit 504, which is an intelligence IDF unit, very unique unit. Have a mix of psychologists, investigators, and fighters all mixed into one unit. They know the language and the culture of Islam and the Muslim world in the Middle East, particularly, very, very well. And usually they will go with units in even the Mossad or Sayeret Matkal or other special forces. And what they do is they help you do interrogations on the spot. Sometimes you don't have time to bring them to Israel and get all the information. You might need that information for them on the spot. So you have someone who is keen and knows how to investigate and interrogate, and who will go like an Inspector Clouseau, Israeli style, that is counterterrorism Inspector Clouseau, standing there. So they were there. They took these two out, and suddenly fire was from all over. The IDF shot back, and in this exchange of fire, more than 13 terrorists were killed, and approximately 25 people were injured from the Syrian side. Crazy story, guys, and let me show you some images here. One of the injured on the Israeli side had the bullet go through his vest, through his chest, and into his heart. Now, my next guest is a medical student. We can ask her later, but I'm not a medical expert. But the bullet, he was flown in a helicopter with a bullet in his heart. And later on, the medical team in Israel, after they rescued him, we're talking about a medical evac from Syria all the way to Israel with someone that had a bullet in his heart. They brought him to the hospital. They saved his life. And the doctor said that right now the bullet is going to stay in his heart. And they're not taking the option that maybe that's going to be for the rest of his life. Maybe they'll remove the bullet in the days or months to come. Maybe they'll leave it there because it'll be too complicated. But how crazy that is, that in Israel you managed to save someone that literally have a bullet that got shot into his heart, and he managed to survive. And that's because of this operation and because of the IDF rescuing and never leaving a man behind. I mean, I'm so proud to be in this country. So I took the liberty to translate for you some of the audio and the video from these videos. I would say 90% of the videos here I managed to translate. I kid you not, I was working like a Meshugana today, and there was one video that I just got last second and I couldn't translate it, but I'll simultaneously translate to you as you watch. But the rest here I put subtitles. So let's watch it from the unit in Syria during the battle. So they said there we have 4 woundeds. By the way, this is Beit Jan. That is the location of that village in Syria. And it's a very important because this might have literally ignited the excuse for the Sunnah radical world in the Middle East to try to invade Israel now. And we're going to go through it. But here is the full video of the battle, the operation. That's, by the way, the bullet I was talking to you about, or at least an image that was sent. We're talking about the area of Dara. We'll see it right now here in the map to give you some context about the video. I'll stop right here. You see the blue, that is the Golan Height. The yellow is the Dara province that is right by the border. And the area that is kind of bluish, lighter blue, is where Israel right now took extra areas from the Golan Height to secure its borders, because strategically it was higher than us, so they had to go and take it. And now they have a clear view into Syria, and also some buffer zone between the towns in the Golan Heights into that. Remember that during October 7, almost for 2 years, that area became a zombie apocalypse abandoned area because everybody had to flee because Hezbollah was shooting rockets nonstop in Iran. And there was always the imminent threat of an October 7 happening there even worse. They found tunnels that were trying to dig into Israel, etc. So Israel had to take the buffer zone to make sure that they are protecting their people. Never again. Became very, very serious for the people of Israel. The yellow area is the area of Dara, which is the area of one of the most radical Muslim Bedouin factions in Syria, extremely radical. We've seen what they're capable of doing on October 7 of the Druze. You know, it's not October 7, but it was the attack on the Druze and the Alawites. They were one of the main forces that actually did that, including many people from all the region and all the Muslim world, basically. But they were like the first ones there to go and do that. We're talking about the most horrendous crimes seen in modern history that were recorded with the same glee that we saw Hamas on October 7. So that's kind of explained to you why is the situation very complex and what did Israel do. Now, I did get some complaints, and we're going to jump in the video in a second ago, but in a second. There was one of the people that commented on my video, and someone that I respect. I've never met him. He is traveling in Syria. He's not from Syria. I'm not going to say any more about that, but he's trying to have a general objective perspective on things. And he came and said on my last video, I disagree with you. You call it an ambush. Well, it's kind of hard to agree with that when your army invaded another country's land and went into their village, and they ended up fighting with them because you took people out of the bed. So some might see that as kidnapping and self-defense. I agree. No, I don't agree. I understand where he's coming from, and I understand the perspective. It does make sense, and it's a legitimate question to ask. Undoubtedly, 100%, we will never push away from that. However, I will just add and maybe clarify. You can be ambushed behind enemy lines. You can be ambushed in another man's land. U.S. forces had ambushes against them in Afghanistan and other places, so you can be ambushed. Now, Israel knows that there is terrorist groups, and there's these two brothers that are in charge of a terrorist cell and part of a bigger plot. They don't know enough about them yet, and the plot is going to thicken during this video. You'll understand a little bit more, which is crazy stuff. These guys have also put a few IEDs on the road trying to ambush Israeli forces, and even shot some kind of advanced missile, anti-tank or anti-personnel on Israeli forces that was foiled. So Israel knew that something is happening. And then with the help of intelligence, they managed to find who these guys are. And exactly the moment, okay, they're at home, they're sleeping in their home right now. When that came, the IDF unit was told in a second, okay, guys, go and get them. And we'll talk about this in a second. Why wasn't Sayeret Matkal or any elite unit sent and a team of reservists sent? Very, very interesting answer for that as well. But anyway, they go. And as they arrest them, they encounter that the terrorist cell is even bigger than they thought. And they even find out that these guys were involved in the killing of the Alawites and of the Druze, kind of sponsored by the government of Syria. So now the plot even thickens. And there's a reason why Israel doesn't allow the regime to come close to the border. So if the regime cannot foil terrorist attacks against Israel and planning to invade Israel, because you can't trust them because the regime will probably do that, and Israel cannot trust these guys to not do it because they say they want to do it. So it leaves Israel's hands a little bit untied in terms of self-defense. What should Israel do? Just let it happen and wait for it to come, or take preventative measures? So in this case, that's why I do call it an Israeli raid on a terrorist nest that had an ambush in it. And I don't revere it as Israel just out of nowhere went and invaded Amsterdam and then got into a fight with the police in the streets. And then, of course, you can't say that they were ambushed by the police in Amsterdam, because what is Israel doing there? They have no business to be in Holland right now with the unit. So in this case, it had every business to be there because they're literally foiling an attempt to possibly bring another October 7 on Israel. Let's continue here with some of the material. So this is, by the way, another map of the area. You can see the Druze mountain, and you can see where the Druze hopefully one day will replace the Syrians and Dara, the Muslim. I think that's great. Another reason that Israel needs to be concerned about Syria, look right here. You see Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Iraq. If that border is left unsecured, literally every jihadist from the globe, except from Egypt, will be, and Northern Africa, they're going to have a harder way to get there, longer. But literally every one of them can come and gather around that area of Syria and try to come. And there's many of them that see it as a religious vendetta, as a religious fatwa, verdict to come and invade Israel. That is literally one of their wet dreams. Some people have wet dreams and fantasies about all kind of stuff. These jihadists, their wet dreams and fantasies is about killing people, and most likely killing Christians and Jews and Druze, and invading Israel and liberating, Palestinians and etc. So just imagine how many of the garbage of humanity, jihadist-wise, will come there if this is left unchecked. So there's a very good reason for Israel to be worried from that border. And trust me when I'm telling you, once you see the next videos, you realize this is the combat footage. Let's watch it a little bit. You see the IDF here. Very afraid of having crossfire. What they're doing here is they're shouting, get inside already. So that's one of the rules in the IDF, to engage. You never fall back. When you're being attacked, you attack back and you charge at them. They're acting very well, I would say, for a unit that is right now in a hostile land and being shot at and ambushed. Here you can see they arrested the suspects. Here you will see them in a second, the two brothers. That's one of them. No, that's someone else. I think that's just someone in the neighborhood probably. That's the two guys. You see they're handcuffed here. They're being checked and taken into custody. They managed to bring them to Israel alive. So the operation was successful with a few injuries, which is terrible. Hopefully not, but terrorists were eliminated. The terrorists brought for investigation, and the soldiers returned all alive, and one with a bullet in his heart and saved. And then they found out that they have some ties and connections to the government. Why would the government of Syria, who just had their leader enter the White House and given a golden perfume by Donald Trump, will have ties with terrorist organizations that are clearly trying to build a terrorist base, Al-Qaeda and ISIS style? By the way, in Syria, for those of you who don't know, there's about 27 active terrorist organizations. It's actually more than that, like 45, but 27 are like the ones, and then you have sub ones. It's literally, they have as much terrorist organizations like Israel have startups. And the most moderate mainstream ones is ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Let that sink in. Whoever heard the word ISIS and Al-Qaeda think like, oh my God, that's like the bottom of evil. So they have more. Like they have organizations that see ISIS and Al-Qaeda like Greenpeace and think like, oh my God, they're too calm. By the way, thank you so much, Askiyashka726. Toda for sharing your insight. First time I caught you live. Lechaim Slonke. It's Yishka. Cool. Thank you so much, brother. Appreciate it. Now I want to bring my next guest, who is a very special girl. She's a student for medical studies. She's a Druze girl who lost her brother, who was murdered by the same jihadist in Syria right now, while he was trying to defend his people there and to stay with his future to be fiance. And after that terrible incident, her sister, and her mother, and I interviewed every single one of them actually, and I have them also in my podcast. You can go and watch it. Have dedicated their time outside of their studies and their life in Norway to go and advocate for minorities in Syria, all around the world, Christians, Alawites, Yazidis, and Druze, and to expose the horrendous crimes that we're seeing right now the radical jihad is doing. So without further ado, I'm going to add Yara. Thank you for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. By the way, the video that I share with you coming next was sent to me by Yara about 2 hours ago. She sent me a video and she told me the government of Syria, the Syrian people, have just called for a jihad. And then I double checked it with other sources that I have in Syria and outside. And not only that they confirmed, they even added for me more videos to add to the equation. Everything is happening at the same time. So there's something serious is happening. Do you mind telling us what is going on in Syria, Yara?
Yeah, so, ever since the Druze massacre happened, Israel swore to protect the Druze, right? And so they did, and are still doing today. And after that, in Syria, in all of Syria, demonstrations openly are calling for, the jihad upon Israel, and also death to Israel. And not just that they're first of all are going to take out the Druze, come into Sveira, finish all the Jews and Christians there, and then go to Israel and, free Jerusalem from the kuffars. And, save
My God.
the
So they're
Muslim
they're
sisters and
clearly
brothers.
so they're clearly saying that their end goal is to reach all the way into Israel. These are the same guys that were
Yeah,
slaughtering the Alawites, the Druze, the Yazidis. How many
yeah.
are we talking about? Last time when they called for this jihad, how many
Well,
came?
you know, okay, let's first talk about Syria's population, okay? So in
Okay.
Syria right now, there are 25 million people, and 90% of them are Sunni Muslims. And the majority of the Sunni Muslims in Syria are extremists, okay? So all of these extremists, we're talking about hundreds of thousands, are against Israel, want death upon Israel, death upon America, death upon the Jews, basically everyone who's not Muslims. So we're talking about hundreds of thousands, okay? Because they're demonstrating in the streets, at the universities, in mosques, in elementary schools, basically everywhere in Syria. Okay, so basically what happened a couple of days ago was that Ahmad al-Shara, the leader, the jihadist leader of Syria, actually had a speech where he said openly, go into the streets and demonstrate against Israel, basically indirectly calling for the jihad. But he can't say it openly. But it was basically to go against Israel, go against the um, they say in Arabic the enemy, the
العدو
Jewish, yeah, the Jewish Zionist enemy.
العدو الصهيوني. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, basically that. So go and demonstrate against them. So after that, more people started gathering. Okay, so first it was like a couple of thousands, and now we're talking about hundreds of thousands. So yeah, that's what they started doing, burning the Israeli flag. That's not new. But yeah, burning the
Let's watch
Israeli
this.
flag. Yeah.
Let's watch this video that you shared for me, and then we can discuss about it more because it's very concerning images. And guys, I added subtitles here in English and in Hebrew, so you can read it. Yeah, it's a big thing, and we should not ignore it. By the way, the guy that is next to him, right on his left, he is the right hand of Al Jawlani. He is the one in charge of his media. He is look, he's whispering in his ears during this demonstration. It's like having a JD Pence, standing there. The right hand. Now they start calling for the men from the different tribes. Get your man ready. Bring them up. And that's in the same day, walking in the streets. Look at that. Flags of ISIS, guys, and Al Qaeda. Same place, same day, just different kind of location of the city. ISIS flags, Al Qaeda flag, calling for jihad. And then you can look and you can see until the eyes can see just crowds of in the thousands, I'm guessing, or hundreds, at least in this picture. And these things usually grow. This is a video that you sent for me, Yara, right? No. Yeah. Oh, I didn't have the video here that you told me about. There's another video where you can see them burning Israeli flags on the ground and calling for a jihad. Now, Yara, you said last time that they called for the same jihad. It ended up with hordes of Muslims coming to massacre the Alawites and then later on massacre the Druze. And now you're saying, with the same native Arabics that they have there, they're calling for the same kind of call of jihad to march all the way until Israel.
Yeah, that's exactly their plan and their mission. So when I first saw these videos, I was like, okay, I have seen these types of videos before, but where? And then it hit me. It was these types of video that got released before the massacre in Sweden. So what they did and are doing today is to gather up in every city in Syria, you know, gather and make these large terrorist groups, a bunch of them, and then march straight to, I'm guessing, the Golan Heights, and then into Israel, because that's the only way. And the dangerous part is that these aren't just, a couple of thousands, like I said before, hundreds of thousands, because, okay, we have, a couple of videos showing the demonstrations, but there's also thousands of demonstrations we aren't seeing today, but is happening in Syria overall. And don't forget that when it's time for jihad, everyone needs to contribute, and mosques starts to call for jihad instead of calling to prayer 5 times a day.
Hmm.
So these aren't just the Syrian security forces, because we could discuss, okay, but if the regime is the only problem, can we just remove him in some kind of way? But the problem now is the regime, but also the majority of the Syrian population.
So we're having a country that have about 25 million people. We don't know exactly how many radicals, but we're seeing so far that is quite a lot. One of the ways we're seeing that is because of the previous attacks that happened, where literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, came to invade and attack and do like horrendous crimes, but also the overwhelming majority support that they received back home. We've seen students in universities calling for massacre of Druze and Alawites, ratting out where their rooms are, trying to stab them. We've seen from all the way the government to the education system, all the way to the streets, only hate and support for jihad. And I think ignoring that will be just terrible and devastating. And I want to say for the people of Israel and the nation of Israel, my country, get your tanks ready, get your helicopters ready, get your airplanes ready. We can't allow a horde of 100,000 Muslims, 200,000 just run into the Golan Heights. It's very easy to take care of them when they're not among your people fighting in your streets or when they don't have hostages from your people. So, Israel, please, I'm hoping and sure that Israel is paying attention for it right now in a very concerning way that terror cell of more than 20 terrorists and these two guys in Beit Jan did catch Israel by surprise. They thought they're going to arrest only two, and they ended up fighting a portion of that village that managed to wake up and fight them. If they would have more time, more will come. So, how many have already infiltrated that border? Because I'm pretty sure that Syria knows that if they will send all the people together, Mad Max style, with like jeeps and tenders, this is not the Druze or the Alawites of Syria that cannot really go outside of their villages to fight them because they'll get killed in the streets by snipers. This is Israel; they'll literally wipe them out. So one can say maybe they're just completely stupid and they will try to run, and then we'll help them go and meet their 72, goat-headed demons in hell, or that they're actually trying to do it smart and slowly bringing their people. And I would think to ignore that is a terrible mistake because last time we ignored the cunningness of radical Islam, we ended up with Hamas running in our streets between our houses, killing our women and children. Let's watch this next video, Yara. I've seen it actually published by a group of Jewish WhatsApp group called the Pioneers of Bashan, and it's a direct threat by the jihadists. Like you said, in many other sections in the country, they're coming right now and they're starting to gather their people. I didn't have time to add subtitles, so I'll just tell you what he's saying here. He's saying, I promise you, in the name of Allah, Netanyahu, the army of Muhammad have already went out. So he is saying that the army of Muhammad, which that's how the Syrians see themselves, has already left in its way, and we will not come back until
اسمع ماذا قال نبيك محمد نبينا محمد أجناد الشام هم خير أجناد الأرض ونحن الآن قد ربانا الله وأدبنا ولن ندع أي وجس يتطاول على أهل الإسلام الأقصى يا نتنياهو الأقصى أقصانا وهو مصر رسولنا.
Jerusalem is ours, our prophets. You went in there and you abused our women, killed our children, but we are burning from inside, but we will not leave you, will not have mercy on you, and we will come, wait for us, the people in Palestine. We swear to you in the name of Muhammad and the skies that we will strip your country, we'll kill everyone in it, and that we are already on our way. So we're seeing already jihadists coming and even saying that they're ready. And again, just like Yara said, it took her some time to realize, because where's this deja vu coming? That's exactly what they did before they mobilized their forces. And I will remind you, Syria know how to mobilize a lot of jihadists. That's how they took the regime from Assad. If you remember, everybody was shocked. Out of nowhere, in a matter of less than a week, most of the country was in their hand. Just out of nowhere, they came out and they just went in their hundreds of thousands, and they took over the country, and Israel went faster than them to destroy all the airplanes and the long-range missiles and etc., so they don't fall to their hands. And probably the biggest airstrike in modern history, almost, they say, or at least destroying an enemy air. They destroyed the entire Syrian Air Force in 2 days. So Israel is facing right now something very dangerous. I don't like to make people panic for nothing, and I don't like to be like one of these people that is trying to get viral by jumping first and saying, but do you have anything to say, Yara, or I have another video I wanted to show, but I don't want to cut you out here.
No, you can say, you can show it, but I just want to add that, okay, I said that the majority of the Sunni population in Syria are extremists, but we also don't need to forget that there are other extremists worldwide waiting for the call of the jihad to go down to Israel or Syria and then to Israel.
That's true, because in the last war against the Druze, there were a lot of Muslims that came from other countries, right?
Yeah, from Saudi Arabia, Germany, Europe.
My God, jihadists are coming from Europe. What a crazy world. And from Chechnya, and I heard, from Lebanon,
Yeah.
from, other places, even from Somalia, I've heard some cases. So in the Muslim jihadist world, it's very luxurious, the idea of liberating Israel and killing all the Jews. That's how they see it. It's literally like, the final boss, almost. The final boss is destroying America in the West, but that's like, a medium in between. If they will start smelling that this is happening, I can assure you that you will have every single idiot, Muslim, jihadist, semi-jihadist, dimwit on the face of this planet going to join, especially after October 7 and after so much anger that they had because Israel literally humiliated the Arab world. And people don't understand, if you don't come from the Arab world or haven't been in the armed services and dealt with the Arab world, many times to them, the shame and honor is more important than life. And they got They're ass whipped. They're tooth whipped by Israel so badly during this war. Literally, like, look how many of their top generals Israel eliminated, like one after the other. It's unbelievable. Israel have taken down more enemies in the top list wanted of the entire planet in 2 years than the entire United States and America together in 20 years. That's not a joke. Israel have eliminated more arc terrorists in 2 years than the entire United States Army and the European and NATO together in 20 years. And we're talking about wanteds on their list. So Israel went Liam Neeson full on these jihadists, and now they're very, very upset and angry. And if they will feel the chance to come and mobilize in numbers, they will do that. But in a very interesting twist of point, there's something interesting happening. There's a bunch of young Israelis called the Pioneers of the Bashan, and they are pushing to resettle the Syrian Golan Heights and bring it back to the days of the Bashan, which is, a name from the Bible that they had for the Syria, for the regime there. And there was a king there, and it was like way before Islam, even existed. The Jews existed there, and it was part of their land. But look at these guys. They broke inside, and then the IDF kicked them out. But they had a message to share.
הבית הזה, כן, פשוט הבית הזה. אין לנו מה... אתם רוצים?
That's the Israeli rednecks.
עוד טיפה, לשני אולי. שער פתוח, נריח. סע עוד. לא, אבל זה גם הם יכולים לעלות בקלות. עוד, סע, תן. כאן תנועת חלוצי הבשן, פה בביר אל-עג'ם, בסוריה. ראינו היום שג'ולני הכריז שהוא בא בשביל לכבוש את הגולן. הוא טרוריסט על מלא, הוא מארגון אל-קאידה. אנחנו יודעים מיוש שרק התיישבות מביאה ביטחון. יהודים יקרים, בואו ועזרו לנו לשמור על ארצנו, למנוע את ה7 באוקטובר פה ברמת הגולן. תחפשו אותנו, חלוצי הבשן, בוואטסאפ, בטוויטר, בפייסבוק. תודה רבה. היידה חבר'ה! קדימה.
Crazy guys. Israel found them and sent them back to Israel, but there's quite a lot of Israelis right now that are thinking that this is a chance to go. Now, obviously, it's often way bigger and over their heads. We have America involved here and other powers around the world that are resisting that idea. If you ask me, that's a great idea. Basically, the further you get radical Islam from you, it's the better. It's really a very simple, thumb rule to have. Now, Yara, what I'm going to show next is actually quite interesting. And you are a medical student, right? You're studying right now to become a doctor, correct?
Yeah.
Which year are you
But
in?
I'm in the first year.
In the first year.
So I'm a noob.
A noob. How hard was it to get accepted to medical school?
Well, it was really hard. So our grades here are from 1 to 6. 6 is like an A in America. So you have to get an A in every subject. And then you have to take this kind of additional subjects to get more than 100%. So it's like you have to get 120 of 100%, if that makes sense.
Oh my God.
It's it's weird, but at least I managed,
Wow,
and I think that has something to do with my DNA and that I am a Druze, because we Druze, we have this respect for knowledge and love to learn. So I think that that's definitely something to do with it.
Yeah, well, I've checked the statistics about the IQ in Syria, and I found out that the group that have the lowest IQ in Syria are actually the Muslims. This is statistics, guys. And the groups that have the highest IQ in Syria are the Christians and the Druze. So interesting. Just kind of putting it out there. Now, here's what I want to actually tell you. There's something very special. Sorry, I'm a bit kind of getting sick here in Germany. About Israel, and where young men and women your age would be right now in the military, doing their military service. That's mandatory because that's how we defend our country. And then
Yeah.
later on, you have something called reserve. And that operation that we saw in Syria that sparked what might be right now an attempt to come and try to jihadist invade Israel was done by a reservist unit. Now, to get you guys to understand what does it mean reservist unit. Reservist unit, I'm going to put this video in the back for an ambient, just so you understand. It means that every one of these people in that unit is either a teacher, a construction worker, a religious teacher, someone that is sitting at home, a lawyer, drinking her Starbucks, or a scientist working in a lab. And when they get called and they come to the army, men and women, and they come as the biggest bad two-seeks working in a comic store, and they jump on their tanks, they jump on their vehicles, they jump on their airplanes, they jump with their units, they get their gear, and they're ready to go to war. Their family members, their husbands, their wives, their students, their friends, their boyfriend, their girlfriend, they are regular human beings who are trying to live a life, but they don't hesitate to go and defend their country and eliminate the enemies of Israel. That what makes Israel very unique. During the war on October 7, and with all the fronts that Israel had, flights to Israel got more expensive. Why? Because so many Israelis were trying to get back to Israel so they can go and defend their countries, while in other countries, it was the exact opposite. They had to close the airports so people don't run away from that country. In Israel, men and women left what they had and went to join the military so they can fight and defend. And because of the intensity of the war that we're having right now on 8 fronts, well, the 8th front is social media, but now maybe Syria. So because of that intensity, the special forces in Israel, they used to be the ones that will do operations like that, raiding a terrorist town in Syria, would have been done by Sayeret Matkal, which is equivalent of the Green Berets, or by Shayetet 13, the Navy SEALs equivalent, or by Shaldag, the SAS equivalent of Israel, or by Maglan and Egoz and Yael, the IBAX unit, and other units. These would be the ones to go and do these operations because they train for it. You would not send a team of reservists. But in Israel, they got so busy fighting right now, that everybody is getting a piece of the cake in terms of military experience. But also, bear in mind, when I was in the special forces, I later on went and moved to be a commander in a regular combat unit, not a special unit, not an elite unit, a regular combat unit. And I was talking to a counterpart, friends from the special forces in Germany and in other places in Europe. And they were asking me about my daily routine. And I told them, like, okay, tonight we just went and did 3 special operations of arresting terrorists in one night. And they told me, like, in one night? I said, yeah, in 3 different towns, like one after the other. Went in, grabbed the terrorists, came out, grabbed, came out. And then they told me, how long did you prepare for that? I told them, for this one, 3.5 to 4 hours. And they were just speechless. They said, 3.5 to 4 hours you prepared for this kind of operation? And I said, what do you mean? He said, in our country, we will prepare for between 3 months to 6 months minimum for a mission like this in Afghanistan or somewhere else. Like 10 months we'll prepare for it. Study it, train. But in Israel, because we're so trained, we're so experienced in that, you can have regular units, not special forces anymore, going and doing these kind of complex missions in a blink of an eye. And that tells you a lot, guys, about warfare. The West is not ready for war. You guys are not ready for radical jihad in your streets. Europe, even America, which is probably the second most experienced army in the world, I think, in combat. In some aspect, the first, even, because they have a lot of combats all around the world. Israel is mostly in the Middle East, but in general, the vast amount of experience that U.S. and Israeli army have is just insane. And just wanted to share that because people that would be doctors, for example, Yara,
Yeah,
are
exactly.
in Israel. They're literally right now doing reserves all the time. One of the reasons that they saved so many lives back in the days, they would keep the doctors in the hospital in the last war, they brought the doctors to the field, and they were the ones to give plasma and to give blood samples and like whatever medicine that needs to be done, and to go with the patient from the mosque that was booby trapped. My friend entered a mosque with his friends looking for terrorists, and they booby trapped the mosque, and it killed half his unit and cut him in half, cut his legs in half. He woke up all burned. He flew from the explosion. His commander got cut in half, and he was just screaming. He was blind. He was terrified, just screaming. Imagine, like, everything is cut, his fingers, his body, his legs were completely cut.
Oh
And
my
he got
God.
saved because another friend of mine was the first one to reach him, grab him, drag him out, and a doctor came, and him and the doctor went with him all the way to the helicopter and all the way to the hospital. So doctors in Israel, and these are reservist doctors, are one day with their kids, and the other day they're literally in the front line saving lives in the most crazy way. I don't know if people can really understand that.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm considering to go and be a doctor in Israel when I finish, because I want that feeling to be able to directly save lives, when it's needed.
My God, I've never thought I'd hear a Druze from Syria saying she want to go and be a doctor in Israel. I mean, I wish that would be the most beautiful thing in the world. And Druze are so respected in Israel,
Yeah,
and people.
exactly.
It's such a good country for us, the Druze, and I can wish that for any other Druze. You know what, Yara? I'm gonna finish, guys, with this video now, and it's a fun video that is just going, at least in my algorithm, it's going viral, and I've been watching so many of these types of videos. It became a trend lately, or at least I think it's a trend. There's a place on the internet that takes probably AI voices, and it takes complicated, interesting issues, and it asks it to explain it in a song. And if I had that when I was in university, I would have had such an easier time studying, because I used to recite the academic stuff that I was learning about psychology or history, and then write it in a song in my head, teach myself how to sing it, and then sing it for a few days. And that way, when I came to the test, I knew a lot of the stuff because it was already as a song in my head.
Yeah.
And watch this. This is brilliant. I think it's the next video coming.
I'm curious how pilots eject without getting wrecked by the giant helicopter blades. You can't eject down because helicopters fly too low for a parachute to open before you hit the ground. And you can't eject sideways without risking a broken neck from the violent force. The only real way is up, but the rotors are in the way. The Russian K-50 Black
So
Shark
fun.
and K-52 alligator helicopters have a wild solution that sounds like science fiction. They don't try to time the ejection. First explosive bolts blow the massive rotor blades right off the helicopter. Then the canopy is jettisoned and a rocket seat launches the pilot to safety. Most US and European helicopters use a different method called auto rotation, using the air from the fall to keep the blades spinning to soften the landing. But this can fail if the helicopter is too low. Russian helicopters are built for ruggedness and survivability, while American designs focus on performance and efficiency.
So I've literally learned so many things about minerals, about construction, about airplanes, aircraft, about space, just by watching this website. I forgot the name where it is. Next time I'll put it in another video and I'll give it credit, but there's in the internet quite a lot of these fun ones. So if you ever need to study something, maybe go there or ask AI to write a song for you. Take
Yeah,
the
that's
whole
smart.
That's smart. Take the whole curriculum that you want to study, put it in AI, tell them, please write it in a kitschy song for me in a way that I'll also understand. And then you just repeat it, put it in your earpods, go to sleep listening to it in your bed, and then you wake up in the morning ready for the exam. I think that's a brilliant idea. Anyway, I just want to thank everyone that joined the show today. I appreciate so much. We've had 450 people watching this live. This is insane. I think the record that I ever had was 700, but usually you'll have like 20 to 40.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. Oh, I forgot. I'm also streaming this on Instagram. So everyone who's watching this on Instagram, thank you so much for watching, guys. I highly appreciate it. I want to remind, if you want to help support the show, go and join the Patreon. We can find practical, direct ways to help me keep making videos for you, because after all, it does take all of my time to do this. The research, the editing, everything. I'm doing everything by myself. I'm not kidding. And I wish I could find help, but I just work too fast for people to even try to help me. I don't know. Maybe I'll find a way somehow to get people to come and join and help me with that. But also, I've checked my YouTube and I have a criticism to all my subscribers here right now. Hear me, hear me, hear me. Let's see it right now. Where is it? Where is it? If I go to my YouTube right now and I look, I can see that I have, where's my dashboard? I have 58,005. So 58,005 subscribers. I've went to the analytics and I've checked and I've seen that most of you have not clicked the bell. What does click the bell mean? No cybersecurity. No one is going to hack into your computer now and wake you in the middle of the night with a video. But what it means is that it will show you a notification that, hey, Mansur did a video. Maybe I should come and listen. And to remind you, I'm probably the only Druze podcaster in English that I know, at least, on planet Earth, in the galaxy, and I don't think even anywhere in the universe. Maybe there's a black hole somewhere that would lead you to another dimension, another place, and you will find a Rick and Morty version of Mansur doing a podcast in English, but I don't think that exists. So if you want to help support an endangered minority podcast, feel free to go and just click the like, share, subscribe, and help share this content and help this channel grow. Only if you find this content worthy of your time. If you don't, I will never ask that. But in general, guys, we highly appreciate all the support that we have. We are a small religion. My religion, Yara's religion. There's only about a million point 2 or 3 of us on planet Earth. And we are suffering a serious risk right now of annihilation. They're trying to annihilate our people in the Middle East. And we need the help of the West to come and put light on it. Shed light on it, show it to the world so they can be held accountable for the crimes that they're doing. Yara, thank you so much for coming. Please send my warmest
Thank
regards to your
you.
mother and your sister and your entire
Of
family.
course. Thank you for having me, Mansour. It's a pleasure being here always.
Always a pleasure, always a pleasure. And I'm sure we're going to have you more on this show because you are just awesome. The Jews
You too.
style. All right. So, in general, guys, like I always say, stay safe and don't do anything stupid.